Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we've got a puzzle by none other than Sam Kappelman-Lyons for you. Sam is one of the UK's, well, most intelligent people, frankly, and most brilliant Sudoku setters and solvers. This one's called Delirium, and it's a classic Sudoku today. We don't do too many classics on the channel, but this has been recommended several times to us, and apparently it's Sam's entry into a recent contest that was held on Discord, a speed setting contest. And Sam, well, I think the task was to set a classic Sudoku that showcased an advanced technique and had symmetry of the givens. So you can see this is a beautiful looking puzzle. It looks very minimalistic, and sort of, I don't know what I call this, some sort of sun shape going around the grid. That's what it looks like to me anyway, but I'm strange. And Sam, I think, wants this to be called Delirium on the basis, apparently he set this puzzle having been awake for 24 hours and just on the verge of entering a trance-like state. But he says that setting puzzles with symmetrical givens that showcase advanced techniques is easy for him. So he just rustled this one up, promptly won the competition, of course, and we are going to have a go at this today. Now, I'll read you the rules in just a moment, but it's a classic Sudoku, so you may know them already. Just to say that obviously over on Patreon we have released this Sudoku Extravaganza. We have been deluged. We have been deluged by responses. I think. Well, it's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of correct entries we've received so far. And bear in mind that even the quickest solvers are going to have to solve 20 of Jovial's wonderful Sudokus to submit an entry. So the number of hours that have been consumed in the solving of Sudokus relating to that extravaganza over the last few days is a lot. Do have a go if you haven't had a go. It really is such a pleasure. You've got till the 20th of July to send in the message you get when you finish puzzle 20, and if you do that you'll be eligible to win this, the cushion created by Anita Berge, which has the first Sudoku from the extravaganza crocheted into the pattern. It's just extraordinary, and we're going to draw the winner out of a hat on the 20th of July. Also, just to mention, we are very fast closing in on 5,000 patrons over on Patreon. If and when we do get there, here's Maverick coming. I can hear him, I can sense him now. Down, Maverick, down. But anyway, if and when we get to 5,000 patrons, we are going to be releasing an extraordinary Murder Mystery Sudoku Hunt created by Alice and No Feet McGee and others over on the Discord server. They're such beautiful puzzles, and that's coming away very soon, we hope. Now let's get to Sam's puzzle. What are the rules? Well, normal Sudoku rules apply. There, I've said it. So do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video. All I know is that there must be an advanced technique that Sam has hidden in this. So I don't know what that technique is or how hard it will be to find, but hopefully we will do our best and find it. The way to play, click the link under the video. I already said that. Let's get cracking and see how we go. So let's start with ones. I can put ones into those squares and ones into these squares. How many ones have we got? Only 4. Let's try twos. Twos are more interesting. Look in box 4, because this 2 and this 2 have quite a powerful effect. We get a 2 in one of those 2 squares, and we get a digit because these 2s interact and give me a 2 up here. However much Maverick tries to distract me, I can still do. Can I do all the 2s? No, I can't. I can do lots though. I've just managed to get, I think, 7 2s in the grid. Let's just double. Yeah, that's 7 2s we've done. 3s. 3s look like they are completely. No, they are really not very helpful. What about 4s? 4s have got a similar pattern in box 8 to the pattern that the 2s had in box 4. Look, this 4 and this 4 rule out a lot of real estate, so we've got to put a 4 in one of 2 places, which gives us a 4 in box 7, which gives us a 4 in box 1, which gives us a 4 in box 3, and gives us a 4 in box 6. Now this is already getting interesting. Look at that. We've got sort of, we had it, in fact, it was exactly symmetrical logic between the 2s and the 4s, and we've ended up with a sort of symmetrical pattern of 2s and 4s in box 5. So let's have a look now, I suppose, at 5s. Now 5s we do not have many of. I'm not really interested in classic Sudoku, by the way, in pencil marking where a digit can go in 3 places in a box. I will resist that very heavily. So let's look at 6s, I think. 6s, again, you know, I can lock them into 3 places, but I don't really want to do that. 6s are no use, I don't think. 7s, we're really running into trouble. Although I keep ending, look, that's interesting. Those 7s looked awfully like the positions I locked the 6s into in that box. Let me just take a stare at that. That is weird. Look, that's a rotational. That's a rotation of the possible positions the 7s and the 6s end up in. Let me just double check 5s again. So 5s and 6s, in fact, are locked into those 3 squares. I'm not sure what that means. I'm trying to spot things, but I'm probably doing a bad job. We haven't looked at 8s. There's only one 8, so we probably shouldn't spend too long focusing on 8s. 1, 9 in the grid. Good grief. So somehow there is a pattern in here, I think. Let's go back to 1s in case the positions of the 2s and the 4s have limited the 1s further. And they haven't. Right, okay, so 3s, has that somehow become interesting? No. Let's try row 3. Look, we've got some real estate in that. We need 5, 6, 7 and 8. 8. 8's therefore locked into one of 2 places. This is the building block for many advanced patterns. If you can lock a digit into exactly 2 positions in a row or a column, always pay attention to that, because things like X-wings can often be built off the back of patterns like this. See, there's almost an interesting pattern with 8s going on. 8 can't go here in row 7, so 8's in one of those 2, but it can also be here, I think. Now, if it couldn't be here, we would have an X-wing. We would be able to lock the 8s into those squares. Here, we don't have that. We have a finned X-wing, which is useless. Sorry, anyway, let's come back to this. What have we got? We got 5, 6, 7 and 8. That square can only be 6 or 7. Sees 5 in the column and 8 in the column. That square, 5, 7 or 8. That sees 6. 5, 6, that's 7 or 8. Okay. So actually, maybe I should pencil mark this one as well. 5, 6 and 7. Yeah, okay. This is interesting. This is interesting. These 2 squares are interesting because I'm looking for symmetry. And down here, I think those 2 squares are also restricted. I might be wrong. 5, 6, 8 and 9. Yeah, that's not quite the same digits, is it? 5, 6, 8 and 9. 5, 8 and 9. And 8 and 9 here. Yeah, okay, there is definitely something here. That one can be anything. Right, let's stop here and just take a pause, because we already have something interesting in these cells, I think. Can you see what it is? Now, often, if you've ever watched me solve classic Sudokus before, you will have heard me refer to a bent triple, which is what I refer to. I mean, I think the technical name for a bent triple is a Y-wing, but the way I spot them is by looking for bent triples. Now, this is not a bent triple, but it is a bent quadruple on the digits 6, 7, 8, and 9, and that is probably interesting. Yeah, there's definitely, I can see at least one thing I can do with this. So let's let's just remind ourselves what a bent triple is and why a bent quadruple is still interesting. So forget all the digits in the grid. Let's imagine that square was a 1 or a 2, that was a 2 or a 3, and that was a 1 or a 3. So if we were scanning, if all of these digits were in the same column of the Sudoku, we could instantly see these 3 squares would be a 1, 2, 3 triple. But you can still do logic if they're bent, because this square here is either a 2 or a 3, and whether it's a 2 or a 3, you always end up with a 1 in at least one of these 2 squares. If this is a 2, this is a 1. If this is a 3, this is a 1. And if you end up with 1s in those 2 squares, or one of those 2 squares for sure, you can look for cells in the grid that see both of these cells, like this one. So this is a particularly useless Y-wing, but you could eliminate a 1 from this square, because if you tried to put a 1 here, you couldn't put a 1 in either of these squares. This would be a 2, this would be a 3, and this would have no value. So that is the basics of a bent triple. And here, look, we have something quite similar in the sense that this square can be a 6 or a 7. This is a 7 or an 8. This is an 8 or a 9. This goes back to being a 6 or a 9. But we can effectively ask, well, what if this is a 6, it's a 6. There's a knowledge bomb for you from Cracking the Cryptic. If this is a 6, this square is a 6. But if it's a 7, what happens? Well, this will be an 8, this will be a 9, and this will be a 6. So we actually know, in this example, that there's always a 6 in one of those 2 positions. But bear in mind that this technique is still powerful if it doesn't form a sort of completely square chain. Let's imagine that we were looking at this square in the grid. Let's just work this out, and imagine that square was a 6 or a 9. And let's ignore this square. Then we've got exactly the same pattern, and it's still useful, just in a slightly different way. Because this square, if this square is a 6, then it's still a 6. If it's a 7, this will be an 8, this will be a 9, and this will be a 6. So we will be able to say there must be a 6 at one of the 2 ends of the chain, and therefore this square could not be a 6. So look out for bent triples and bent quadruples if you find them. Bent quadruples are much harder to find, but the way to spot them is not to try and... You see, a bent quadruple, I don't know what the correct name of it is. I think it's probably something like an XY chain, maybe. Don't think to yourself, I'm going to go off and find an XY chain. That does not feel intuitive to me anyway. Finding bent quadruples, on the other hand, finding cells that if they were all in the same row or column of the Sudoku would form a quadruple, that feels much easier to me at least. So look out for these sorts of things. Now, what was this? This was a 6 or a 9. Now, as I'm thinking about this particular pattern I think is odd. Because this is much more powerful than a bent quadruple, or the bent quadruple I described with the 6, 9 here, because I'm not just learning things about the start of the quadruple, am I? It forms a loop, because I'm also learning things about 7s, of course, because either this square is a 7, in which case it's a 7, or this square is a 6, and that's going to make that a 9, that an 8, and that a 7. So there is always a 7 in one of these 2 squares. That means there's always going to be an 8 in one of these 2 squares using the same logic, and there's always a 9 in one of these 2 squares using the same logic. So this is a weirdity. I have no idea what this is called, I have to say. If I get a chance, I will look up afterwards what this is called, and I will put it in the video description so that everybody knows. But it's essentially some sort of bent quadruple that loops round on itself. That's what I'm going to call it, the looping round bent quadruple. So this is now what it should be known as, hopefully. Maybe it is known as that. And what is this doing, though? Well, it's going to put a 6 in one of those. It's going to put a 7 in one of these, which I can see is going to get rid of 7s from those squares. It's going to get rid of... We're going to have an 8 in one of those. And we're going to have a 9 in one of these. Yeah, actually that's interesting. So in fact, this strange arrangement, I'm sort of trying to, I think I'm starting to see how it works. It's either 6, 7, 8, 9, or it's 6, 7, 8, 9. That's really, really weird. So let's just look at that again. It's either 6, 7, 8, 9 like that, or it's 6, 7, 8, 9 like that. That's really beautiful, isn't it? So one of those loopy things must be correct. Now, this square can't be a 9. I've got a 5-8 pair now that's come out of the woodwork in column 5. But what I think we should also do is, well, I should check this square and then I should check these columns as well, because I've not pencil marked those in. So this square is not 9, is it? So it's 5, 6 or 8. Oh, okay. I thought that might be better than that, but it's not. We'll have a look at this column as well. Let's just check whether we can do anything with these two squares. We've got 3, 6, 7 and 9. This square is restricted because it can't be 6 anymore because of the strange loopy thing, and it can't be 7. So that can only be 3 or 9, I think. And this one is 3, 7 or 9. Which actually doesn't seem like it's that powerful. Maybe there's more to find. This column can't have an 8 in either of those two squares, and we're looking for 3, 7 and 9 then. So that's a 7 there, so that's 3 or 9, which goes with its partner in row 5. So we've got pairs sort of surrounding the central box. And that square, look, is only 3 or 7, I think. Let's double check that. So 3, 7, 8, 9. It can't be 8. Yeah, that's 3 or 7. This is beautiful. This is classic Sam. This is classic Sam. This is when you know you're in the presence of a genius. Look. Look. Look what he's done. That's a naked single. I think, anyway, it's a naked single. I'm going to check that. But I think that has every digit now looking at it because of the strangenesses that we've put into those dominoes. Let's actually make those yellow so that it's highlighted. Now, what can this not be? It cannot be 2. It can't be 3 because of the 3-9 pair. It can't be 4. It can't be 5 because of the 5-8 pair. 6, 7, 8, 9. It's absolutely beautiful. So this is a 1, and that 1 is useful. It gives me a 1 there. So now we probably have to check this column and this row, because we've now effectively locked 5 digits into this column and 5 digits into this row. So in the column we need 2, 3, 7 and 9. That can't be 2 or 3. That's a 7 or a 9. Okay, neither of those squares is very interesting at all. This is a naked single. Sorry, I should have seen that straight away. There's a 2, a 3 and a 7 in this box. So that's a 9. This is a 7. That's now become a 3 of all things. That's now become a 9. This has become a 3, and we're suddenly getting some progress here. Now let's just make sure that we're using our progress as fully as we can. There's now a 2-3 pair in the central box. Oh, look, I could have got that. I could have got that from just seeing that there's 2 3s in. Oh no, I could. Right, I'm maligning myself here slightly unfairly. In this column, we did have the opportunities with the 2s and the 3s, but only once we got the 1. Before we got the 1, this was not a 2-3 pair, but once you had the 1, we could have seen it was a 2-3 pair, so I didn't do myself too much of a disservice. 7. Oh, 7 is nearly restricted in that box, look. 9 has got... Oh, 9. Where does 9 go in box 9? I think it has to go here. And that is oh yeah, because it does. Because I was wondering how this digit was still available, but it's not available because this 9 is seeing it. So once that became a 3, that became a 9, this becomes an 8. I see. And that 8, of course, determines the whole of the loop. So that's got to be a 7, that's a 6, and that's a 9. That means this is a 7. That's a 5. This is an 8. This is a 5. This is now a 6. Good grief. We can put 6 into one of those squares. 3 has got to be in one of these 2 squares. What else do we need here? 3, 7s and 9. 7. Ah. So there's a 3-7 pair there, and there's a 7 here, in fact. So that's 7. That's 3, and that's 9. 9 lives in one of those 2 squares. 9 lives in one of these 2 squares. And I think it's going to be a case of picking which box looks the weakest. So 3, 5 and 7 into those. Oh, 7. Yeah, this 7s are really useful all of a sudden. That's a 7. This is a 7. I must have done all the 7s virtually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have done all the 7s. Now we need 3 and 5 into those squares, which we can't do. But there must be a 3 in one of those 2 squares, and it goes there, and that's a 1 because of this 3 up here. Now that 1 places a 1 here, which places a 1 here. Those 2 squares are a 4, 8 pair. Now that means we know this digit, that's a 6, just using the power of elimination on the bottom row. We need an 8 in that box. What do we need in those squares? We need 2, 6 and 8, which we can probably eliminate some stuff from. That's not 2, that's not 6. We need a 5 and a 9 into those squares. That's good. The 5 and the 9 get resolved. 9 must live here. 9 is here now. These 2 squares are 5 and 6. Bobbins. I can't resolve it. This is not 7. I don't know why the pencil mark's remaining there. This has got to be a 5 or a 6. And what about those 2? We must put 3 and 8 into those. And there's a 3 here. So this is gorgeous. 3, 8. 3, 5. That becomes a 6. 6, 5 go in. We need to put an 8 in this box, and we also need a 5. So that column, that row, all looks good. This 3 is fixing the 3 and the 2 in the middle. The 8 goes here, the 6 goes here, the 2 goes here. It's going to be disappointing if we can't solve it from here. We need a 5 in this row, so that's 5, 4, 4, 8, 8 in the middle, and that should be a 6. And that is how to solve. That's just a beautiful, beautiful puzzle by Sam, as always. If you want to do more puzzles by Sam, get over to the Discord server, because he, Clover and Philip Newman are doing these gas puzzles. I think it stands for generally accessible or approachable. No. Yeah, generally approachable Sudoku, gas. And there's one of them every day, and you can just register, and it alerts you when they're released, and they are a lot of fun, and they only take a few minutes each time, and yeah, and they're by some of the world's great constructors, so what's not to like? So yeah, this was this is ridiculously clever to somehow construct this out of the symmetrical givens so that you end up with this ring here. This sort of bent quadruple that works back on itself it's just stunning. It's just stunning. There's no other words for it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from the video, and let us know in the comments. We do enjoy reading them, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.